Please like, subscribe, and be sure to click that bell button for regular and exciting indie film content and your chance to be the first to engage with the Liftoff Global Network of Film Festivals as we embark on launching the careers of the filmmakers of tomorrow.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. Today we are joined by 4 fantastic filmmakers who picked up the Audience Choice Award from the New York Liftoff Film Festival. Welcome guys. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We've got Doug, Brianne, Melissa and Malcolm. I'm going to throw it straight over to you, Doug. Could you please introduce yourself, who you are and what your project was? Doug, do you want to take it away? Is this the most appropriate freeze that I think could have ever happened? It is, isn't it? It's so serious as well. Okay, Brianne, over to you.
All right. Well, hello. My name is Brianne Neira. I am a filmmaker from New York. Melissa and I made A Place for Ashes together. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Melissa now.
Amazing. Thank you.
I am Melissa Ingle, and yes, I co-directed A Place for Ashes with Brianne.
Amazing. And Malcolm.
My name is Malcolm. I'm a filmmaker currently in San Diego. The film that won the Audience Award is Company of Prophets.
And is Doug going to join us just in time? Doug, for your introduction, tell us who you are and what your film was.
I'm Douglas Corcoran, and my film was Midwest Ice Age.
Perfect. Thank you. So we are going to start with A Place for Ashes first. So as I get that rolling, Brianne and Melissa, take it away. Please tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind this piece. But one more thing before you do. If you are watching this live and you have any questions for our filmmakers, please do put it in the chat room and we would love to discuss any of the comments as the stream goes on today. If you aren't here watching this live and you're catching up on this once it has finished, then please do put a comment below and we will always come back and answer any questions that are in there. Okay, girls, take it away. Brianne, Melissa, tell us the inspiration behind your film.
Yeah, so it was at the beginning of the pandemic and we were all sitting down. Some of us have found ourselves back in Long Island. Some of us were commuting back and forth between school because a lot of us were in our senior year of college at that point. And with this huge upset in the world, we looked at each other and we said, we got the talent, we got the resources. All we're doing right now is trying to sit and see what happens in the world next. Why don't we sit along and edit something while we're doing that? And sit along and challenge our skills instead of just letting them sit harnessing dust. And so the idea for A Place for Ashes happened when we went back to Long Island. And we were back in the area we all grew up. Me and Brianne went to high school there. And while sitting there, we really had in our laps these uneasy feelings of relationships we might have left off at weird spots that now we were confronting in the pandemic. Or even relationships with our siblings and our family members, as well as the world outside of us. So we sat down and with our writer, Ian White, we developed this script, all 3 of us, really going back and editing and fine tuning till we found ourselves in a nice spot by the summer to go back to Long Island and film it where all these natural ghosts of our past kind of led to inspirations of the moment.
Amazing. Wow. Amazing. Brianne, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I guess it's funny because when we were sitting and starting to write and think about this movie, it was in the very beginning of quarantine, May, June 2020. And it started off as we both have this one weekend free. Let's just get a camera and make something real fast because we're bored and might as well. And then it just kind of grew and grew and grew to a 3-year long thing that is now finally complete. So it's been a really long but very rewarding process, especially because this is our first film out of college.
Yes, I saw that on your application and I was going to ask you a few things about that, but I'm just so glad to hear the kind of full story started with the pandemic and now it's out into the world doing the festival circuit, and hopefully it's springboarded you into something else as well, but I'll ask that towards the end. Doug, I'm going to ask you if you can mute your microphone because there's a little bit of feedback coming through on that. Thank you so much. So the film is now rolling and we can see the wonderful actors that you have in this project. How did you find your actors and what was your rehearsal period like? Considering they're supposed to be sisters, their relationship needed to be a strong bond. So how did you find that rehearsal period and casting?
So I worked with Bailey Mace-Jack at Parodies Productions, and I've seen a lot of their material acting-wise. So I already had a nice relationship with Bailey, who plays Phoebe in our cast. And then Carly was actually brought to our attention through, again, Ian growing up in Connecticut. Ian had a lot of Connecticut resources and friends who were also acting. And Carly Polistana is an amazing comedian and actor. And once we really developed the script and got at a good spot, we opened it up to a giant casting network and just putting it online to see who would audition. But knowing that we had past relationships and interactions with them and we knew their work, we definitely reached out to both of them with the idea that we would love them to audition and try. And then once we got our cast, our Phoebe and our Taylor, we went into Zoom rehearsals online, having a lot of time to just talk through the scripts, break down the beats. Me coming from a theatrical background, I was very much in that mindset of, okay, well, let's find all these super objectives. Let's know the world, the story, before we even get into the space. And it's going to go boom, 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 a lot faster from, films.
When you say your background's in theatre, was that as an actor or as a theatre director?
As a theater director.
Great.
So I've always wanted to direct. I started again in theater, but as the pandemic pushed a lot of us to do so, it was how do we create stories in a moment where we all need to tell stories. These stories need to happen, but in a different medium. And Brianne was so amazing in that way because me and Brianne, like I said earlier, we met each other back in high school when we were like Girl Scouts, very young. And we both kind of went on these parallel paths where Brianne went more down a camera and production background and film background versus me, who went down a more theater, devised theater background of making scripts on our feet, of trying to find the story through location. And we really sat there and we said, how can we take these great skills that we have, the great skills that Bailey and Carly have, and then just other people who we knew from our little circles that we said, all right, we also know you're bored and you want to tell stories too right now. How can we get you a part of it? And it really blew into this wonderful little film family on set.
Fantastic. Thank you. Brianne, is there anything you'd like to add on top of what Melissa was saying?
Yeah, Melissa, as Melissa said before, we kind of, as co-directors, we wanted to tackle it to each of our strengths. So I focused on like the cinematic and techie and filmmaking side, where Melissa was very heavy on our actors. And I mean, I think she did an incredible job directing them. I think the chemistry that they have is it's exactly what we were looking for. Like, and also I just love that they both have red hair. That's a superficial thing. That was incredible. But yeah, two very, very talented actresses. So lucky to have both of them on board.
If I could add on one more thing, like how perfect it was that they both kind of had like similar traits and stuff, was in an earlier moment in the film when it's the shots of the family photos on the fireplace. Those are photos of Brianne and Brianne's sister. And like just the fact that even those photos, we were able to kind of find the ones that looked like the girls to create that tangible lifespan that you have to find little ways to hint at in a film because you don't have all the time.
Yeah. Amazing. I was going to ask you a little bit more about your director and producer duo, but I feel like you've covered a good basic of that, which I guess the best way to ask how well you work together was how did you overcome any hurdles that you had to tackle? So maybe there's one or two stories here that you can tell us about a moment that completely took you by surprise and you had to overcome it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few things. First of all, just gathering a budget in general is so hard because
Yeah.
you know, we don't have any equipment, we're fresh out of college, but we want it to look cinematic. So raising money was a big thing. Just trying to campaign as hard as we could, get the film out there as much as we possibly could. We had to switch locations at one point, which was, we wanted to build the film so intricately around the space, like what Melissa was saying before. We wanted to kind of have the story come from the house, especially the Long Island house.
Yeah.
So it was kind of jarring to, I had my whole shot list and like shot by shot planned of in this house, and then we had to switch pretty decently last minute. But I think it worked out really well because this house is actually my childhood home. So it's got even deeper roots now.
Yeah. Amazing. What about you, Melissa?
Yeah, so there's a couple hiccups along the way, but that always keeps you kind of, I feel, more centered and very more in it.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh man. But I gotta say, the house and the shooting location hiccup was the one that got us the most at the beginning. Because we all started this idea with actually a barn that someone who I was house sitting for and helping out with was like, oh, we have this laying around, you can use it. So it was originally going to start there, but when that fell down and then the backup house fell down after that, like Brianne said,
Yeah.
really settling down and saying, okay, what do we have here? And it being Long Island and all these ghosts that were already kind of coming into the subconscious of the piece. That part was very helpful. And also knowing where the locations were very helpful from that hiccup, because we were able to make a lot more gut instincts of like drawing on those film themes of nostalgia. And again, ghost keeps coming up because this all kind of started as like a little psychological horror film that eventually kind of just morphed its way into looking at the mundane of our characters and what we try and escape by fantasy and storytelling of like, oh, mundane realities and sibling relationships that are awkward are so weird. Like a lot of films we were talking about when we were developing it is it's when you see siblings on film, specifically sisters, it kind of leans towards that more girly girl, I'm here to help you out kind of thing. And from my own experience and from everyone's experience who was tied to the film and talking about their own relationships, nobody has like that kind of tight-knit love that we kind of get exposed to in media of family. There's sometimes this awkward middle ground that we want to focus the more positive memories and relationships on and focus and steer the stories down that direction, that we tend to avoid, you know, the darkness and the yuckiness that these characters, Taylor and Phoebe, find themselves in, as well as like we kind of found ourselves in while we were fixing up hiccups along the process.
Yeah. I guess then that throws the question around. Were there any moments where it just went so well? Maybe they were unexpected that they were going to go so well, or just like a moment that, or a part of the film that you just absolutely love.
Oh. I think personally, like the scene that's on right now, actually, our climax scene, our actors just did the most incredible job. Like when I was editing it, it felt like kind of like a play, with like they just killed it. They just killed it, and we were able to do it all in like 3 shots, I believe.
Amazing. Specifically
with the urn breaking, like that. Luckily, we had like I think 2 urns to break, and so 2 breakable urns. So we had to break it. We had to get this shot in 1 or 2 times, and luckily both times it ended up really great. And then a small happy accident is when we were filming the playground scene outside, my neighbors were having a pool party for their kids.
Oh, you're joking.
And I was so like, they were so loud, like, but like, obviously I'm not gonna go yet. You're gonna be like, hey, we're shooting like a $2,000 movie over here. Can you please quiet down? but it ended up in the final cut because hearing the kids playing in the background while Phoebe and Taylor are fighting on the playground ended up thematically just being like
Perfect.
incredible.
Yeah.
So that was like my favorite moment of like, oh, that's a happy accident.
Such a happy accident.
Perfect. So what's next? Are you both collaborating again on something new, or are you working on separate projects?
Melissa, if you want to say.
So we are currently in developing right now, working on another script. We're really taking our whole Spiral Films production crew and trying to see what stories we can really bring to the screen in a genuine and from our heart ways that only our group of people can. And we're kind of now in that little boiling moment where we're working on that next thing now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds very exciting. And regards to this project, how's it been doing on the festival circuit? Or are you taking it down another route as well?
It's been doing good. We're still in the early days.
Okay.
We started submitting a few months ago, and recently we just did our world premiere at the Long Island International Film Festival.
Amazing.
That was really fun because, again, hometown, very full circle. Oh, Melissa's got it. Oh, if it's
I'm disappearing, but I promise it's here.
There it is.
Shout out.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting because we got to see it on a movie screen with an audience
And a reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're still waiting to hear back on a few. We're still waiting for a few festivals to open up. But I would say, especially with this one, did pretty good.
Good. Yeah, the life of a short film can be film festivals goes in a drawer, or it can lead you into your next job. But have a think about where this film could live, because there are platforms that do showcase short films, and especially when you're looking at your next films, if you're telling stories that have a niche, that have a market, then there might be somewhere that can help get up more eyes on there. This is more for horror and sci-fi, but YouTube channels like Alta and Dust, they are huge. If you can get your film onto those platforms, in return you're getting into the hundreds of thousands of views, if not millions, on your short film. So then all of a sudden, when you go to the next level up and you're looking for funding and you're looking for a producer that can bring maybe some, I don't know, whatever the next steps are, then your audience is there in front of you. So it's just about, if you're going to spend a lot of time and invest into making short films, what can you get in return? And I think a lot of filmmakers make a short film for the fun of it and don't see how they could advance their career with it. So I really wish you all the best of luck. And I want to pass it over, because there's a few moments left of this film before it comes to an end. I just want to pass it over to Malcolm and Doug. Do you have any questions for our filmmakers, Brianne and Melissa? Anything that they've said that you want to contribute to, or just if you have a question?
I guess just you were talking about some of the challenges and the things that went right and went wrong. How was it ever, like, when the script, like in the beginning, was there how many rewrites did you have to go through during the process of doing the film? Did you have to rewrite some stuff, or how did that all go?
Yeah, I mean, how long do we spend writing, Melissa? Maybe like 8 to 12 months, I guess. Our writer Ian White did an incredible job. This movie started off as like a sci-fi horror, which it is very much not now. So as you can imagine, there were a lot of drafts to go from sci-fi horror to like indie slice of life.
Coming of
age.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man.
I
sorry.
do not have
Go for it, Doug.
sorry. I do not have any questions, but it was beautifully done, and you have to love those happy mistakes that happen during shooting, because it always comes in handy somehow.
Thank you so much.
That's true.
And,
Thank you both.
And my side, the credits are now rolling, so I'll let those roll a little bit. But I just had one question for you, Melissa. As a theatre director, with that, so I'm just changing screen. Did you find it quite fun to let the actors improvise around what was written? And did you use that improvisation to solidify the script? or did you ask them to stick to the words that were on the script?
So we did have moments of improvisation while we were developing the world and on our rehearsals. However, when we did transition to filming it, the script at that point with all the rewrites was so tight that we found context and the acting beats within it. And we really found that if we stuck to that script and just expanded off of it, we were in a tight spot and we were really happy with the product.
Amazing. Thank you. I think that was quite a good question to end on. We are going to move on to Malcolm's film, but before we do that, I want to kind of put you under the firing line and ask the most horrible question that is out there. What are your favorite films? And if you can, off the top of your head, just reel one off, that would be amazing. Brianne, I'm going to start with you. What's your favorite film?
Parasite.
I love Parasite.
Definitely my favorite. Hereditary. I'm a big horror person. Everything Everywhere All at Once, obviously. I have my letterbox favorite one saved in my head.
That was a great answer. Parasite. I watched it on a plane and I was hooked the whole way, and I was like, I need to see this film again. Yeah.
So good.
Melissa?
Oh, first three things that come to mind. Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator.
Nice.
Logan's Run. Crazy.
Okay.
And then all the original Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Cool. Cool. How did you think of that? Oh, no. Nothing. That was the wrong film. Cool. Malcolm.
Okay. I already know him. I guess it's Network. Was done in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great movie. Raiders of the Lost Ark
Amazing.
and Pulp Fiction are my three favorite movies of all
Pulp
time.
Fiction
I
as
guess
well.
you'd say. Yeah. So those are the three.
Amazing. We're going to come back to you in a moment, Malcolm. But Doug, what are your top three?
Three, also The Network. I do enjoy that. Mad Max Fury Road. I like that the colorist. I was really impressed with that. What else? Probably The Shawshank Redemption. That was a surprise film for me.
I think The Shawshank Redemption was maybe one of three films that made me want to get into the film industry. It was just blown away by that film. So yeah, great choice. For me, Parasite is up there. Whiplash and Bend It Like Beckham, if anyone knows that film. It's it's a very silly coming of age film, but I wanted to be an actor when I was like growing up, and seeing that film really inspired me to get into the film industry as well. So yeah. Cool. Malcolm, I'm going to load your film, and as I do so, please tell everyone who you are, what your role was on this feature, and the inspiration behind it.
Okay, so Malcolm. My name is Malcolm Carter. I'm a director, writer, producer, co-producer of Company of Prophets. Inspiration. Wow, I guess the inspiration was I'm a big hip hop music fan. So I wanted to do a movie about hip hop, but I didn't know which way to go about it because there's so many different ones. And it started out as a straight like hip hop. Someone comes teaches someone how to rap and they become great. But I wanted to kind of change it up. So I took something that's like, I said, okay, well, what if I did a hip hop movie, but sort of like a slow burn thriller, and put them together, see how that would work. And that's kind of the inspiration of me in the writing process of it, was just figuring out how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to make it about rap music and a thriller, like a slow burn thriller with some mysterious things going on. So that was the inspiration of, let me figure out how to do that. And it was I want to say a year and a half trying to write the script to make it feel organic in that sense, that it wasn't a rap movie. It was more just a story, and hip hop was like the main theme, or the underlining tone was in it that would, there wasn't any like gun play as a dramatic ending. It was more of a rap battle as a dramatic ending, but it was within the story what we were trying to do there. So that's why it was
It
very
sounds like that year and a half took you on a wild journey.
yes, it did. It did. It did.
It did.
Yes.
What's your background? So this is obviously a feature film. Is this your first feature, second feature? Where does it sit?
First feature. I've done a number of short films. Uh, Started out as a writer though first, and then moved in as a producer. I had a film filmmaker with me for a long time. We did a lot of movies together. He was more the director,
Okay.
and I was more the producer slash writer. And we always wanted to do a feature film. That was because we've done so many short films, and I learned a lot about it. Budgets and things like that. So I was like, let's go. We're ready to go. Let's do a feature film. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, he found his wife, and he had some kids, and he went on to. So I was still trying to figure out how to make this feature film, and I got a lot of the inspiration or the knowledge from doing so many other short films to bring me to this first feature film.
Amazing. You touched upon budget there. How did you
Yes.
manage to fund this film?
I think it was the experience of the short films. Like I knew
Okay.
how much money I knew, it's about figuring out locations, how much this is going to cost. I knew a lot of that. So I had a budget in mind. And when I was getting it ready, I knew how to do the pre-production and all of that. So it still costs more in the end because I totally forgot about post-production because the co-filmmaker that I'd been a part of, he dealt with all the post-production. I didn't have to do anything.
It's not cheap
And
either.
no, that's where all I had to say a lot of my first time experience as a filmmaker, a feature filmmaker, really came in not knowing anything, and just it was a hard show in the beginning, but we got it through post production. But that was, yeah,
And
yes,
then comes,
that,
and then after you've got it through and the film is made, comes this another wave of finances that you need to take on the film festival circuit.
yes.
How have you found that experience?
Expensive, yes,
Yes.
very expensive.
Yeah.
That's what I found about it. But it has been great because there's so many. Like I had no idea it was so many film, festivals, and trying to figure out the right one and where to place your film was very tough. We did have a world premiere for it at the Golden State Film Festival a few months ago. So that was awesome.
And that was a live
'Cause
screening?
yeah, it was a live
Amazing.
screening.
I'm so glad you
there
managed
was
to get this in front of an audience.
yeah, yes, it was great. I was very appreciative of that because for the actors and for everyone else, because again the film we've stopped wrapping the film. I think it was 2018 as far as the principal photography.
Wow.
But then, like I said, the post production took forever, and with COVID as well. So I was very happy to get that for them to see, and be able to be a part of that.
To have a project that's been running for 5 years, almost 6,
Yeah,
it must have
almost
been
6.
such an emotional moment seeing it finally on the big screen with the cast and crew around you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was amazing. It just, I tell that to everybody. If you got a film or anything, don't give up on it. You'll figure it out. You just gotta look for different ways, and it was amazing. And in fact, I forgot about the sound part. The sound part in post production is another big thing that filmmakers should make sure you get the sound right, because my sound was a little off, and by the grace of God, I found a guy on Facebook who came and just helped me out a lot. Robert Anderson. I think he worked for Warner Brothers for a while, so it was great, and that's when I was able to say, okay, I am enough satisfied to put this out there because I was not happy with the sound at all. So,
So it's
yeah,
very mature of you to talk about the sound, because
yes,
from a festival's perspective, especially if you're aiming for cinemas, if there is anything wrong with the sound, whether it's a little bit of wind or it's just off, any small minute thing, a festival will decline it almost instantly. Because when that goes into a cinema space and it's going around the 5.1 surround sound or whatever Dolby system they have, you cannot watch the film. People are so much more tolerant to bad image than what they are to sound. And you'll see that through social media as well. You can watch a really badly filmed clip, but as long as the sound is good, and it just gets amplified.
absolutely.
So across the board, whatever you do as filmmakers,
Yes.
just always have a sound engineer on your set who can make sure that that
Yes.
is all getting captured perfectly. But what a learning curve to overcome, Malcolm. You'll never, ever, ever make that mistake again. Or try not
Yes,
to.
Right,
But
right.
what other hurdles did you have to overcome to get this project made?
So yeah, it was the post production, and I did in the beginning. Uh, there was a couple of when I don't know if anybody else had this. You have maybe a couple of people, either film crew or actors, and everybody's ready to go, and then at the last, not last minute, but let's say a month and a half before we're about to get going, somebody says that they can't do it.
Yeah.
So that was tough because it was one like it was uh, the way we overcame is because right before we did the feature film, I did a short film that we had did like maybe 3 or 4 months ago. So one of the young ladies that was in there, her name's Ashley Neve. She played a part in the sci-fi. So I gave her the part because that was she's like the co-lead in Company of Prophets. And I asked her, "Hey, could you read for this?" And she did a fabulous job. She came at we had the read, and I didn't have a co-lead anymore, so she came just to do the read to help me out, and she was great in that. And I said, "Hey, do you want to do the role?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And she's amazing at it. So yes, absolutely,
Amazing.
that was tough.
So apart from that performance and finding that actress, is there something else within the film that you absolutely love?
I do. I love the rap battle. That's the climax of them coming to grips of what's going on. So when we filmed that, we had to turn the air off this was July. This was in July,
Oh no.
and we had to turn the air off in the home that we were using, for sound, and we had to do that maybe 4 or 5 times, and I'm so proud of that because they really stayed in the character. They really gave it, and you can feel it even when we were just filming it, and we're all sweating and taking breaks and everything. So I'm very happy with the way that shows up on the film as well. And it was yeah, that was great. That was great. The way the whole crew came together. Did that.
Amazing. Who was your DP on this?
A young man named Wade Patterson. He had done a couple of films before as a DP, and he was great. He, because I had never done a feature film, it's just the shorts films. As far as budget wise, he kept it going. He kept it going because he knew, okay, we get these shots and we can keep moving. And because we did the film, I want to say it was 11 days, and
Wow.
we really had to move with the budget that we had. And he was good at keeping that on pace because I kind of wanted to. Let's see, maybe we can do another, film a shot of this. But he was like, if we feel we got the best, let's just keep moving. So he was great with keeping the film moving.
Did you have a second AD? Or an AD,
I,
sorry.
we had one AD. Well, they were like an AD slash script supervisor. They did
Slash
two
props
for
slash anything that needs to be done. Yeah.
right,
No,
right. So they
the way
yeah,
that you were talking about the DP like pushing things along made me think
yeah.
that maybe he was also doing the work of the AD as well.
No,
But no,
he just had the most experience doing like feature films, so he kind of knew to keep going, like
amazing.
that. So, yeah.
The only reason I bring up the DP is because one of the notes from my jury was how well the film was framed.
Oh,
Um,
that's
so yeah,
yeah.
so well you
Yeah,
can
he
pass
was
that on
great.
to your cinematographer.
Yes, I
Um,
will. I will.
I do find the filters that you have used quite interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about why you wanted to do that?
I think there was a number of reasons, but I think like I wasn't. I'll be honest. I wasn't happy with the look in post production for some parts of the film. Um, I think it didn't have the cinematic look that I was looking for. But also, I've always wanted to experiment with colors on a film.
Mm,
And for this, I decided I wanted to kind of do something different where the filters would give a dreamlike look in some places, because with the lead, Mala is the lead uh, character in the movie, and what she's doing, it's even though it's a lot of things that she doesn't want to do, it's almost like a dream for her. So in a lot of ways, it's just kind of like going from her personal perspective of what's going on, dipping into reality and not. So yeah,
okay, great.
that's kind of how to it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. And just to round up, then, what is next for you?
Oh, a few things. I've got a couple of things in development, but as everybody probably knows that uh, the, there are a couple of strikes going on here, the writer's strike and the
Yeah.
actor's strike. So, in the meantime, I guess let's see if I hope you guys can see this. I've put my screenplays on Amazon.
Oh, cool.
So if anybody wants to check them out, this is called How to Love a Man. This is the one I think I want to do next as a film. So anybody wants to support, you can go get it off of Amazon, and all money goes to the project. And another one is Beauty and the Best. So those are out on Amazon. You can see them there, and hopefully get one of those made. Yeah.
Oh, good luck. Good luck with that.
Yes,
I'm
thank
going
you.
to
Thank
open the room. So Brianne, Melissa, Doug, if there's any questions for Malcolm, fire away.
I have just first a comment about the color grading and the filters. I think it's so cool because it almost reads like a music video, at least because I'm watching it without the sound, and I know that's kind of, like a big theme. So I just thought that was a really interesting choice, especially with this like bright blue that you chose.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I also was wondering, because I've written a feature, but I've never made a feature. Did this start with a short, or did you make like a proof of concept, or were you just like straight out the bat feature
Yeah, I
film?
think it was straight out the bat because it was like I was like telling you guys before, it's like I wanted to do a feature. I just wanted to, so it just kind of started there. I've done a number of short films, so I just like I got to push through and do a feature. So yeah, it started out trying to get it a feature. In even though when I wrote it and it was done, it was still short to me as far as a feature. It was only like 70 pages. So I was very like, oh, I still don't have a feature. But everybody was like, trust me, once you go through it and the beats and all of that, it'll be a feature. I was still nervous about that though too.
Great. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd love
Yep.
to quickly jump in. You were talking about your themes of dreams and hip hops. I was curious what other themes you tackle in your work, and what inspires you.
I guess the it was like with the hip hop and the dreams, but it was also um, just where people are coming from an emotional space. Because when I wrote it, a lot was going on here in America, and there's a lot of things that were going on. So it was very like uh, what people hold inside, and then when they let it out, and how letting it out and being able to talk from both sides can be really, really great at sometimes. So that was like a big thing too when I was writing it as well. So
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Great.
And then just a comment, really, I love the film. I love the filters. I thought it was really interesting the way that you did the color grade and everything. It was really neat kind of stuff.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Malcolm, for sharing your project. We're going to move on to our final project now, which is Doug, your film, a little short documentary. So I'm going to get that loaded. And as I do, if you could just recap who you are, what your role was on this film, and then tell us the inspiration behind it as well.
Yes. Again, I'm Douglas Corcoran. I was the director of Midwest Ice Age. It was a capstone at Tulane. Prior to shooting this, I actually was an executive chef for 25 years. And then I moved to New Orleans and went back to Tulane, and I met a couple professors, Professor Beck, Professor Martinez, Professor Prakim. They turned me on to film. And then I graduated majoring in theater and then also digital media.
It all makes sense now. It all makes sense. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm a non-traditional student, so a little older. When I was originally shooting this, I had went to across country to shoot a film about an artist that kind of gave it all up and got drafted into the army, but he wanted to fight for his country. So so I needed a backup plan. So I was going to work on my passion project this summer, which was going to be about Ice Age, was going to be about ice carving, and bring a little more visibility to the industry, because right now in culinary schools they used to teach it, but now they currently don't anymore. So it's kind of going away. So
it's a dying
with
art,
this generation, it's a dying art. So with this generation going away, it could become extinct. So I'm going through and making regional ones, but this is the first of it. So going home, it was original story was about my father, but then I had to kind of pivot over and do the ice carving. I called my friend. He just happened to be doing a festival that weekend, and it just worked out perfectly. So we started shooting just clips in his shop, clips all around the different ice carvings that he's doing, just to kind of make him, kind of humanize it a little bit, kind of see what's behind the scenes and, people, how they live, and that they're real people, and that this is really something that you can do. You don't just see it on cruise ships or in movies or whatever. So you actually kind of see the process and how it works. And then Chad, who also, I used to ice carve also, and then doing that, I met Chad through the way, and I also used to work there at Ice Creations and do things too. But we kind of grew up in the field together. So they agreed to do this. We met, we talked, we shot as much as we could. But it was just neat to kind of have that intimate, non-traditional conversation, kind of just put it all together. And then Chris Dvorak, and he played a big role in the editing of it, at the post-production, putting the story together, the dramatic action being, Chad's accident, and how, if they took Chad out of it, there would be no one really to kind of fill in for him. So it's kind of, with him coming back, everything was good, and they continued on. But what could have happened would have been horrible. So at the same time, it's a, kind of a dying art, trying to bring a little more focus to that, so people can see, hey, here, it is something, it is an art, it is, hopefully can spark some interest in it. So
one of my notes from the film is just how much you managed to get into the 7 minutes. And I think if the tragedy of the car crash hadn't have happened, it would have been a really nice documentary regardless, and talking about the ice. But because of that element, it just makes it so much more human. So it was I just didn't see that bit coming when I was watching it. I was like, it went through a lot in that 7 minutes. So well done.
Yeah, when I'm directing, I kind of try to break it with my theater background, I guess. I try to break it into 3 acts. So I try to have my historical act kind of talk about where they're at, what we're talking about, and why we're there, and then move into some kind of a dramatic action, some kind of something to kind of pull people in, to kind of help them to relate to the characters, and then the ending kind of, to try and bring it up, or to try and pass the message, or whatever it could be. So again, I'm working on in the future, I'm working towards doing regional ice ages throughout and doing humanized stories throughout the country. You know, Arctic Ice Age, West Coast Ice Age, Eastern Ice Age, you know, East Coast Ice Age, whatever, and then Southern Ice Age, and then put them all together, and then do at the end, I want to do a full-length documentary about, you know, how the Ice Age is going to be extinct if we don't, you know, if people don't start to kind of get involved, kind of see things go on, and, you know, kind of enjoy the art or kind of start to learn the art because it's going away.
It sounds more like a beginning of a series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, you have multiple ways of pitching this project, whether you want to do it as the piece it all together and have a solid feature, or to approach different online platforms to see if it's something that they'd be interested in.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you got lots of ways to move forward, which is great. Where's
Yeah,
next?
well,
Do you have the next location in mind where you're going to shoot?
I'm shooting for Arctic Ice Age, so in Alaska. I have friends up there that carve ice, so there's shops up there. So I want to kind of move up that, or kind of go that way and shoot that. But my next thing coming out is I actually finished that. It's called Sacrifice: Trading Art for War. It's that art documentary that I started before, but it never finished because I had to pivot to this because we had a health issue come up with my mother, which is why I dedicated this to her.
Okay.
So I finally finished that. It's about watercolors, pen and ink art, some really, really talented art, and then kind of putting it together. So it's just basically about how a guy growing up in trucking, going to school, never trained, went to, he got drafted. So he threw away, he was offered a scholarship to Chicago Art Institute, gave it up to go fight for his country because he was a patriot, and then went to the war. Although he could have just went to college and got out of going, but he wanted to do the right thing. So he's an honorable man. And then he came back trucking. His family needed help. So he gave it all up to take care of his family, and then had a career through trucking. And then, and in retirement, started to enjoy things. So the whole topic of that was just going to be, it's never too late to live out your passions, live out your dreams.
And
So that'd be.
this is completed, you said.
It's all shot and everything. I'm actually meeting with my editor, Chris Dvorak, Justice L. Cantor, Mark Corella. We're going to get together again. It's the same people that helped me edit or did the post-production on this one. We're going to work on that as well. So we're actually meeting this week, and hopefully we'll have it out in the fall. So.
Amazing. Well, good luck with that. My favorite part of this film has just gone by, and it's the sculptures of the penguins. I absolutely love that. So I just wanted to point that out on the screen. Oh, it's back. Yeah, I love that little penguin. I find also the gelatine with the color, it's like enameling for jewelry, but
Yeah, they used to do it many different. I remember back in the day we used to use sand, like
okay.
whatever, craft sand, but then when it would melt, it would drain down into the food, into, like, if you had an ice sculpture with shrimp cocktail or something, the sand would get in it, and then so we kept trying to find new ways, and this has been the best way, the non-toxic gelatin. So Chad's actually revolutionized a lot of the art or the ice industry when it comes to a lot of these things with some of his processes.
Yeah, nice. That's very exciting about the series, or the multiple different locations and then combining it together. What is the dream for that? Is it just to get it made and get it out into the world, or do you want to get it onto a bigger platform?
I'd like to get it onto a bigger platform, but a lot of it is just to bring awareness, and then because culinary schools they're really not teaching it anymore. So it's like there's no inlet into the ice world. So once these people, because all these ice carving shops really popped up very quickly in the 90s, and then a lot of people don't even know about it, but it's such a small amount of an area where they're done. This is also in Asia, in China, Japan, all of it. But only a select few people do it, and there's not a lot of people coming into it. There's no inlet into it anymore. So it's like it's going to go away. And it's such a beautiful art just to watch it. Kids enjoy it. And I remember when I used to do ice demos, if you give them a big chunk of ice to play with, they're just fascinated by it. They're just like, oh my God, this huge block of ice are used to little cubes of ice and stuff. So it's just amazing to them. People love watching it. And then just to see chainsaws cutting through everything, it's just... it's hard. It's just a fascinating little art. So it's just nice. I like to bring it, kind of put it in the limelight a little more so people can see it and hopefully inspire people to want to try and do it.
going back to what I was mentioning earlier about finding your niche and finding a platform that is perhaps on YouTube where you can put your film or apply to put your film to once it's done the festival circuit. There's one for documentaries called Free Now, and Free Now documentaries, or Free Documentaries. Sorry, it's called Free Documentaries, and it covers every single topic. So definitely take a look at that one to gain some popularity, especially if you're looking at taking this on the road, because then you can just build and build and build your audience and capture that data. So if you do want to take it further, then you have the proof in the pudding as well, not just an amazing film.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Does anyone have any questions for Doug?
I have one.
Yes, go for it.
Well, first, just a comment. Your title sequence is so cool. Like, that was awesome. But second, more of a fun question. You mentioned that you used to do ice sculpting as well. Do you have a favorite, like, thing you made?
I always like to default to, I always did a swan that was sitting on a Roman numeral 1. That was always my favorite thing to go to. It was my default thing. And then one time a chef told me it looked like a duck. So then I was like, oh my God. So then I had to keep perfecting it. So I kept doing it over and over and over and over again because I didn't want to get that comment again. So I just kept practicing and doing it more and more. But it really wasn't a favorite. I just enjoyed working with it. But, just kind of making the art was always the fun part of it. But yeah, that opening sequence, that's going to be repeated throughout the series. Justice Elkinter, she's the one that made that, which I thought was just brilliant the way she put it together. And then I'm gonna keep doing it throughout the whole series so they know that they're all related. So
Great. Any other questions?
More of a comment than a question.
Go for it.
I just like to say, Doug, you find such a great way to take big things like truck driving or ice sculpture and really take the curtain away to the people behind it. And that's just very awesome to see in your work.
Yeah, Professor Beck actually pushed that with documentaries. She said you focus on a single subject and everything kind of comes in behind it. And so it was great advice. She taught me well.
Great.
Doug, great opening sequence too, by the way. It was great. I love that. The question I have is, because so many people have asked, like, what I should do next is a documentary or something. Why don't you think about a documentary? So I guess just in general, what would be your 3 things someone should do or make known when they're doing a documentary? The 3 most important things when doing a documentary.
Film, film, film. Just always film. Do not stop filming. Just always grab something because you never know when you're going to get to, even if it's a 10-second nugget out of a 2-hour filming. Just always keep the film rolling. And then film often. Just constantly do it. Get as much data, as much reference B-roll if you can, just to kind of go behind it. And then just decide, and then always focus on one topic. That's my big thing. Focus on the topic, and again, everything will come in behind it. So ice carving is such a huge topic, but we focused on Chad, and then ice carving surrounded it. So that was the big thing. So everything kind of came in behind him. What else? And really just, I guess, location. Like, funny thing with that video, you saw the snow scenes at the beginning. There was a snow, and then there was the driving with the snow. That was actually, we're getting ready to move to North Dakota in a month, and we had to go up there in April, at the end of April, and I needed snow scenes. And I'm like, well, it's too late, in the game. I'm in New Orleans. We don't see snow here. But then we were in North Dakota, and that was North Dakota scenes. I was filming when we were driving around in late April in North Dakota. It was snowing like that. So I picked up little snippets of shots, and then Chris Dvorak, my editor, he was able to implement it in there, and it worked out beautifully. Nice. So it's just pick up all these little pieces of footage and just hold on to them, have a bank of them. So.
Nice. Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. I think that was such a nice question to round the session up with, giving advice back to filmmakers and our audience that are watching. And I just want to say thank you for those that have been watching throughout. And yes, if you are watching this at a later date, like I said at the beginning, feel free to put some questions below for our filmmakers, and I'll give them a nudge, and that there are some questions there if they come in. But that does lead us to the end of today's session. I'm going to just close down the stream, but feel free to stay on and we can round up in our own way. But I'm just going to say goodbye and thank you again for everyone that's here. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.